practical version of a reverse takeover in business, which would be scandalous. Remember, Canadians sided with Britain during our war for independence. While our patriots were shedding blood on the battlefield, Canadians were canoodling with King George III. The proof of their perfidy remains to this day. Canada has a province called British Columbia, not to mention another one named Prince Edward Island. After we won our independence, many Americans who sided with the tyrannical monarch fled to Canada. It would
Hey everyone, welcome back to American Express. Today we're diving into a topic that's been buzzing around lately. What if the US annexed Canada? Sounds crazy, right? But President Trump and some others have actually called for this. Steve Forbes recently weighed in on this controversial idea, and let me tell you, there are a ton of reasons why this might be the ultimate geopolitical cell phone. Stick around because we're about to break it all down, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. But before I get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. Alright, let's jump into it. So first up, let's talk about why President Trump and some of his supporters think Canada should become part of the US.
Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. President Trump repeatedly calls for having Canada become part of the US. Here's why he and other annex-minded advocates should reconsider. There might be serious and highly unpleasant consequences. Start with the fact that our northern neighbor has 10 provinces and 3 official territories, including the legendary Yukon. Canadians may be quiet types, but that hardly means they'll be patsies at the bargaining table. They won't countenance becoming a single state. They'll condition any takeover on making each of its provinces and territories a separate state. Under our Constitution, each state has 2 senators. That means Canada would come in with 26 senators, enough to be the swing bloc in controlling this chamber. That's frightening enough, but it gets worse. Canada's a very big place geographically. Being shrewd, its negotiators would use American precedent and geographically divide each of their political entities into 2 parts. North Saskatchewan, South Saskatchewan, etc. After all, in 1889, when our Dakota Territory applied for statehood, it was divided in half, North Dakota and South Dakota. The state of Maine was carved out of Massachusetts in 1820, and West Virginia out of Virginia in 1863. That means 26 new states from Canada and 52 U.S. senators. Canada would also have a powerful bloc in our House of Representatives. In other words, what would take place would be the political version of a reverse takeover in business, which would be scandalous. Remember, Canadians sided with Britain during our war for independence. While our patriots were shedding blood on the battlefield, Canadians were canoodling with King George III. The proof of their perfidy remains to this day. Canada has a province called British Columbia, not to mention another one named Prince Edward Island. After we won our independence, many Americans who sided with the tyrannical monarch fled to Canada. It would desecrate the memory of our patriot martyrs to have the descendants of these traitors end up controlling our country. There are other negative factors. Take Quebec, which is French-speaking. Canada is officially bilingual. You can bet Canadian bargainers would insist that this applied to the U.S. if they were to join us. That alone could be a deal-breaker. Given everything else that's going on, it's hard to imagine President Trump taking the time to master French. Our northern neighbors are different from us culturally. They're not big noisemakers. And just recall those pro-British Americans who decamped to Canada after we won our independence. Canada was given its independence. We had to fight long and hard to get ours. The American West is symbolized by the cowboy. The Canadian West, the Mountie. Clearly, taking Canada would have serious drawbacks. Instead of gazing at Canada, the Trump administration must focus hard and fast on getting a huge tax bill passed immediately, not by Memorial Day, but now. If the GOP doesn't move swiftly, the economy won't be their friend next year. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening. Do send in your comments and suggestions, and I look forward to being with you soon again.
Plus, Canada and the US have different cultures. The US is known for its cowboy spirit, while Canada is more about its iconic Mounties. There's also a bilingual situation to consider. Canada is officially bilingual, which could create a whole new level of complexity in the US if French becomes a national requirement. Instead of looking to annex Canada, the US should focus on some real domestic issues. For one, tax reform should be at the top of the list. Forget annexing Canada, the US needs to prioritize getting its own house in order. So, what do you think? Would annexing Canada be a geopolitical win or a huge self-own? Canada's culture, political structure, and history would make this a tricky, if not disastrous, move for the US. If you found this video interesting, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment below, and let me know your thoughts on the idea of US-Canada annexation. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the most pressing topics. Thanks for watching American Express.